My name's Nathan Reed. I'm 36 years old, born and raised in Cape Town, South Africa, but I've traveled all over for work. I run a cybersecurity consultancy, remote contracts, mostly with financial firms. It pays well, but I work long hours and spend most of my days behind a screen, deep in code and firewalls. My wife Isabel is 34. She's a travel writer for digital magazines. You know the type. Sunsets, coffee cups, remote beaches, captions like, "Wandering soul with a camera and a pen." We met at a mutual friend's braai 10 years ago. I fell for her instantly. She was electric, unpredictable, always chasing something. We got married 3 years later, moved into a quiet house just outside the city. At first, it was exciting. We take spontaneous trips, stay up talking until 3 a.m., plan bucket lists, and dream about seeing the northern lights. But over time, things mellowed out. We traded road trips for routines, late-night talks for Netflix, passion for comfort. Not a bad thing, just different. But then earlier this year, around February, I started noticing things. At first, it was small stuff. She started dressing up just to go get coffee. Her phone, which used to sit on the table, was always clutched tightly now, locked behind Face ID. She'd laugh at texts she never shared with me. She'd spend weekends writing retreats, but never brought back anything she'd actually written. No drafts, no notebooks, just Instagram pictures of obscure mountain spots I'd never heard of. I asked once if I could come along, just for a change of scenery. She smiled and said, "Babe, it's a women's-only group. You wouldn't vibe with the energy." Fair enough, I thought. I tried not to be the jealous, possessive husband, but something in my gut was off. And then came the morning that flipped everything. It was a Thursday. I remember because I was prepping for a pitch with a banking client in Zurich. We were sitting on our balcony, clear view of Table Mountain, golden sunrise, birds chirping. It was picture perfect. She took a sip of her coffee and said it so casually I almost missed it. "Nathan, have you ever thought about opening our marriage?" Just like that. No warning, no build-up. I blinked. Wait. What? She chuckled nervously, like she hadn't just thrown a punch at our entire relationship. You know, exploring new connections. It's not about the physical aspect, it's about energy, expansion, freedom. Polyamory is normal now? She kept using words like growth, evolution, and spiritual alignment. I just stared at her, trying to figure out where the hell this was coming from. I asked, "Is there someone else?" She looked right into my eyes, didn't even flinch. "No, of course not. I just think maybe we've been limiting ourselves. Love isn't ownership." She kissed my cheek and said, "Just think about it, okay?" And walked off like she hadn't just shattered every sense of stability I had. The second she left the room, I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was suspicious. Very suspicious, and I was about to find out exactly what she'd been hiding. When Isabel first brought up the idea of opening our marriage, I played it cool. I smiled, nodded, said I'd think about it. But inside, I was spinning. Something was off. Way off. This wasn't a spontaneous idea sparked by a podcast or some abstract philosophy on love. This felt rehearsed, like she'd been working up to this. You know that feeling in your gut when someone tells you half the truth and your instincts start screaming that the other half is worse? Yeah, that was me. So, that night, while she was soaking in the tub, candles, wine, music, I sat in the living room pretending to be browsing the web. But I wasn't watching anything. I was watching her, thinking, rewinding, replaying all the little details I'd ignored before. 1. The phone always in her hand. 2. The sudden interest in yoga, after 10 years of saying it was boring. 3. The perfume she started wearing that she once said gave her migraines. 4. The new underwear that didn't match anything she used to own. This wasn't curiosity. This wasn't about growth. This was about someone else. And if there's one thing I know thanks to my job in cybersecurity, it's how people leave digital footprints, no matter how careful they think they are. I decided to say yes. Yes to her open marriage idea. Yes to freedom. Yes to exploration, she smiled. That subtle kind of relief smile. The one people give when they think they've gotten away with something. She started going out more. Book clubs. Writing circles. Creative healing nights. I didn't ask questions. Instead, I watched. I tracked. She'd forget that our devices were linked to the same Apple account, that her iPad occasionally synced messages, that her location sharing had once been turned on during a weekend getaway and never disabled. Wasn't even looking for messages at first. I just started watching patterns, where she said she was versus where her phone actually pinged. She said she was at a poetry reading and observatory on a Friday night. Her phone? GPS logged 2 towns. Over. A boutique lodge in Constantia. Girls' spa weekend in Stellenbosch. Her phone showed up at a luxury game reserve lodge 90 kilometers away, alone. I knew I needed proof. Hard proof. I waited for the next opportunity. One night she left her iPad charging on the kitchen counter. Locked, but not logged out. I went to the Messages app. It synced, and that's when I saw it. A contact saved as Camilla, yoga group. I expected innocent chats. Instead, I found hundreds of messages, late-night texts, heart emojis, photos, voice notes, and they weren't from a Camilla. They were from a man named Marcus, mid-40s, rugged, expensive-looking. I scrolled through one of his selfies, well-dressed, tan, the kind of man who never had to worry about credit card limits or laundry day. She called him Daddy Cool. He called her his wild little nomad. I kept reading, every word cutting deeper. I wish I could fall asleep next to you every night. Last weekend was unreal. That dress. I still smell your perfume on my sheets. That perfume. The one she just started wearing again? It wasn't new. It was his favorite. I put the iPad down, sat back, tried to breathe. I wasn't just being paranoid. I was living with a woman who had emotionally, physically, and mentally already left me. She just hadn't packed her bags yet. But now? It was time to start preparing mine. You think you're living in a committed marriage, and then you read the messages your wife sends to another man while she's in your bed. I scrolled through hundreds of texts between Isabel and this guy, Marcus Venter. He wasn't just some fling. This wasn't casual. They had nicknames for each other, rituals, inside jokes, songs they'd send each other, playlists they'd share when apart. He called her My Desert Rose. She called him Daddy Cool. He'd say things like, counting down the hours till I see you again. She'd reply, I dreamt about you last night. Your voice, your hands. They had entire weeks mapped out where she'd tell me she was covering a travel story while secretly spending time with him. Hotels in Kinisna, Franschhoek, Botswana, even a trip to Zanzibar where she sent me photos of sunsets, pretending she was alone. In one photo, I noticed something odd. A shadow in the reflection of her wine glass. A silhouette. I zoomed in, and there he was, leaning over, smiling. It made my stomach turn, so I dug deeper. I pulled his full name from a booking confirmation she emailed him. Marcus Venter, age 48, CEO of a luxury safari lodge group based in Johannesburg. I looked him up on LinkedIn, polished, charismatic, wealthy, tons of press photos, shaking hands with tourism ministers, ribbon-cutting new resorts. He had the smile of someone who always gets what he wants. His Instagram was private, but I found tagged pictures, dinner parties, polo matches, helicopter rides over the Okavango Delta, and in one photo taken about 3 months ago, there she was, Isabel, my wife. Arm around him, laughing, wearing the same necklace I bought her for our 5th-year anniversary. Caption said, private. Weekend escape with someone special. It had 312 likes. I wanted to smash something, but I kept going. Because I needed more. I checked her Airbnbs, her Uber receipts. I even pulled data from a backup of her WhatsApp messages that had been saved to her Google Drive months ago. She didn't. No, it was still linked to her old work email. And that's where I found voice notes, dozens of them. Him whispering things like, "I want you to leave him, Belle. We're wasting time. We could build something real. I hate that you have to lie to him. But you said you're done, right? You don't even sleep in the same bed, right?" That was a lie. We were intimate the night she sent that message. I even remember it, because she kissed me like she meant it. I stared at the screen. For a moment, I couldn't move. I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't confused. I was angry, the kind of angry that makes you feel nothing and everything at the same time. And then, something in me clicked. I wasn't going to cry about this. I wasn't going to confront her yet. I was going to finish what I started. Because this wasn't just betrayal. This was war, and I was about to show both of them exactly who they'd underestimated. If you're enjoying this, smash that like button. It means the world to me. The thing about betrayal is, once you've accepted it, you stop thinking like a husband and start thinking like a strategist. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to document everything so that when the time came, they wouldn't just feel guilt. They'd feel consequences. I started with the basics. I screen recorded all their messages, took screenshots of locations, travel confirmations, hotel bookings, anything that showed she was with him while lying to me. I downloaded their voice notes, even the romantic ones. I compiled everything into a cloud folder. I labeled it as Final Draft, Isabel's Lies. Then I set up a burner email account. No names, just a subject line. Thought you might want to know what she's been doing behind your back. But I didn't send it yet, because I wasn't done. You see, Isabel had no idea I'd found out, and that gave me a powerful weapon: time. She continued smiling, planning her little retreats, talking about deeper love and sacred openness. Every time she kissed me goodnight, I imagined her kissing him the night before, and I smiled right back because she was walking straight into the trap. Now here's where it gets strategic. Knew from her messages that she and Marcus had an upcoming getaway to Zanzibar in mid-March. She told me she was flying to Namibia for a travel expo. I encouraged her. I helped pack her bags, and I even gave her my noise-canceling headphones. The day she left, I made sure she believed I had a back-to-back virtual seminar and couldn't drop her off. Instead, I followed her. Not closely. I stayed 2 cars behind, watching her hop out of the Uber at the international terminal. She was glowing. You know when someone looks like they're walking into their dream life? She had that look. I snapped a picture of her at the check-in desk with Marcus. They kissed like high school lovers at a bus station. I snapped more pictures. Now I had undeniable, time-stamped proof. The next step? Let them get comfortable. They were going to spend 3 days together at a private oceanside villa he rented on a secluded beach. I waited until the second night to strike. That evening, while they were sipping cocktails and sending each other Instagram stories of ocean sunsets, Marcus got an email from the burner. He clicked the link, and he watched every single screenshot, every synced location log, every voicemail she sent, every photo, all of it. And then, so did his fiancée. That's right. Marcus wasn't just cheating with my wife. He was engaged to a woman named Dr. Amara Lau, a highly respected trauma surgeon from Pretoria. Turns out, she wasn't just brilliant, she was suspicious, too. I'd found her contact info from a LinkedIn mention in one of Marcus's bios and sent her the exact same package. And the moment she opened it, she sent me one message. "Thank you. I'm flying out tomorrow." The fallout, it was glorious. But we're not at the twist yet, because what Isabel did next, even I didn't see it coming. The night before Isabel came home from Zanzibar, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was nervous, but because I was ready. I'd spent weeks pretending I didn't know, weeks hearing her lie to my face, weeks letting her touch me with hands that had touched him. And now, it was showtime. She arrived at the house just after 3 p.m. the next day, smiling, tanned, hair braided and wearing a white sundress she never wore around me, one I'd seen in a selfie she'd sent Marcus. "Missed you, babe," she said, leaning in to kiss me. I pulled back, just enough for her to notice. Her smile faltered, slightly, but she recovered quickly. "Everything okay?" I nodded. "We need to talk." She froze. She knew that tone. We sat down in the lounge. Sunlight pouring, through the windows, casting long, unforgiving shadows. I opened my laptop and placed it on the table. One folder, labeled Zanzibar. I clicked it open. Photos, messages, voicemails. She stared, then looked at me. Eyes wide. Pale. No words. "How long, Isabel?" "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think," I said, my voice calm, too calm. "You lied to me for almost a year. You didn't want an open marriage. You wanted permission to keep cheating without guilt." She started crying, said she was confused, that she felt trapped, that Marcus made her feel seen. She used every cliché in the book. I let her finish. Then, I leaned forward. "Did he feel seen when his fiancée showed up at your villa and slapped the living hell out of him in front of the staff?" She blinked. "What?" "Oh yeah," I said, smiling. "She was lovely, a doctor, brilliant lady." That's when it all crumbled. Isabel went from crying to pleading. "Nathan, I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't know how to leave." That hit me harder than anything else. Not the cheating, not the lies, but somewhere in her mind she'd already left me, just hadn't bothered to say it out loud. "I gave you everything," I said. "My time, my trust, my love, and you gave it to someone else, without hesitation." She knelt down in front of me. "Please, don't end this. Let's mend this. I'll block him, I'll go to therapy, I'll do anything." But I shook my head. "You had your chance. You chose him repeatedly." I stood up, walked into our bedroom, grabbed a suitcase I had packed the night before, came back out. "You don't need to leave," I said. "I do." That's when she broke. Sobbing, screaming, begging. I didn't flinch. I walked out the front door, got in my car, and drove away from the life I thought I had. The truth? It wasn't until I was halfway down the highway that I finally let myself cry. Not for her, but for the man I used to be. Before she destroyed him. But here's the thing. I thought the story ended there. I thought walking away meant it was over. But 2 weeks later, I got a message from an unknown number, and what I read changed everything. 2 weeks. That's how long it had been since I walked out of our home, or what used to be our home. I was living out of a furnished Airbnb on the edge of Hermanus, a small coastal town 3 hours from Cape Town. Quiet, peaceful, exactly what I needed. No noise, no lies, just the ocean and silence. The first few nights were brutal. I kept expecting her to call, to show up, to beg harder, but she didn't. Maybe she finally realized I was done, or maybe Marcus had taken her back. Either way, it didn't matter. I spent my days working remotely, running audits for my cybersecurity clients, and my nights thinking, rebuilding, unpacking the relationship I thought we had, and all the blind spots I never saw. There's something raw and humiliating about realizing the person you loved the most never loved you back the same way, or worse, maybe they did. But it faded, quietly, slowly, like a light bulb dimming until it's gone. I kept wondering if I missed the signs, if I should have been more attentive, if I worked too much. But deep down, I knew the truth. She chose to lie, she chose to cheat, she chose to stay, while secretly planning to leave. I was grieving someone who still existed, but wasn't mine anymore. I didn't tell many people. My parents were confused and devastated. My friends? Most were shocked. Only my best friend Dion knew the full story. He offered to fly out and stay for a week, but I told him I needed to be alone. And then, just when the silence started to feel normal, I got the message. It came through WhatsApp from an unsaved number, late at night. Just one line. You need to know what Marcus told her about you. Call me. No name. No context. Just a South African number with a Cape Town area code. At first, I thought it was Isabel trying to get in my head again, but something about it didn't feel like her. So I replied, "Who is this?" The typing bubble popped up, then disappeared, then popped up again, and finally, "I'm Amara, Marcus's ex-fiancée." I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then my phone rang. "Unknown. Number?" I answered. "Nathan? Yeah. We need to talk." The next 10 minutes changed everything I thought I knew about Isabel and revealed a truth I never saw coming. "I'm Amara, Marcus's ex-fiancée." Her voice was sharp, professional, calm, but cold, like someone who had been burned one too many times. She wasn't calling to gossip. She was calling to warn me. "You said I need to know what Marcus told her. Told Isabel." "Why?" There was a long pause on the other end. Then she said, "Because your wife wasn't the victim. She was the plan." I didn't understand at first, so she explained. Amara had been suspicious for months. Not just about the cheating, but about Marcus's pattern. Because Isabel wasn't the first married woman he got involved with. She was the fifth married woman Marcus had seduced, then convinced to sabotage her own life. Why? Because he didn't want relationships. He wanted leverage. And Isabel, she gave it to him willingly. Amara had discovered a secret shared drive on Marcus's laptop right before their engagement party, a folder labeled Projects. Inside were files, photos, recordings, private data, personal documents, voice notes. Each file was labeled with a woman's name, and one of them was Isabelle Dutoit, Phase 3. My blood ran cold. What does that mean? Phase 3. She hesitated, then said, "It's what he calls the extraction stage. It's where he convinces the woman to leave her husband, leak confidential information, and isolate herself from her safety net." I leaned back, heart pounding. What the hell would Isabel have that he needed? Amara paused again, then said something that nearly knocked the air out of me. "She didn't tell you. Did she?" "Tell me what?" "She accessed your client data. The encrypted audits you did for that mining cybersecurity firm, the one in Ghana, Marcus sold it." Everything in my chest went still. What? That job was confidential, NDA locked, government contracted. If any of that data leaked, no. That's not possible. She doesn't even know how to, right? And then I remembered. The night I passed out on the couch after pulling a 16-hour shift, she had taken my laptop to watch Netflix. She even asked for my password again. Said she forgot. That wasn't Netflix. She cloned my hard drive. Amara said she found emails between Isabel and Marcus where he instructed her exactly what to pull and how to send it to his encrypted Dropbox. My entire professional credibility, my career, had been compromised. And I didn't even see it coming. I was so focused on her cheating, I missed the real betrayal. She didn't just lie to me. She didn't just cheat on me. She used me. And now she was in hiding. Amara had tried to track her down, but both Isabel and Marcus had disappeared, left the country. No forwarding address, no bank traces, phones off, socials deleted, vanished, like ghosts. The last card Amara played, a screenshot of a flight booking under Isabel's maiden name, to Singapore. "She's not just running from you," Amara said. "She's running from prosecution." And just like that, it hit me. This was never just about love or infidelity. This was a setup. I wasn't the heartbroken husband. I was the mark. And that's how I found out. My marriage wasn't just a lie. It was an operation. Now I'm rebuilding my life from the ground up, dealing with lawyers, trying to clean my name, fixing what's left of my reputation, But every night, I wonder where is she now? And more importantly, was anything she said to me ever real, or was I just another folder in a drive labeled Phase 3? What would you have done if your partner suggested an open marriage out of the blue? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. If you made it this far, you're the real MVP. Hit that like button so more people see this story. And if you love stories about betrayal, revenge, and wild twists, subscribe and turn on that bell because I've got more real-life stories coming that you won't believe.